Hey everyone, I am back. Sorry, it's been a while. For those of you that might be here for the first time, my name is Trace. This is Nathan, who's
Hi
on the
everyone.
show today. And Nathan, I always forget where you're from in California. I'm so bad with.
From Yucca Valley, California.
Okay, yes. And we're very happy to have you today. Many of you have already met Nathan or said hi to Nathan. He is my moderator here on this channel, along with Tish. And Nathan does a lot. Nathan helps me a lot with my channel and all things going on technical that Tracy doesn't know anything about over here. And so we can't thank you enough. And so Nathan had this great idea. I think we talked about this at one point, Nate, but we didn't do anything about it. And considering that Saturday was National Autism Day, am I right? Am I
Or
saying that right?
Autistic Pride Day.
Autistic Pride Day. Okay. And so we thought in lieu of that, we were going to do this video for all of you, coming from somebody who has autism. And, I hear a lot of times in this community, people saying, I think that my spouse or my mom or my dad or whomever in my life might have Asperger's and not have narcissism. I've heard people say that, right, Nate? And they get this. I think there's a lot of confusion around this. And I think you being on the channel today is going to improve people's knowledge greatly on this topic and help people understand that there is a difference. And Nathan has family members that are narcissists 100%. And he's going to break down in this video for you the difference between, how he feels, where he's at, and that there is a distinctive difference. There is a compare and contrast we're going to go into today. So without further ado, thanks again, Nate, for doing this topic for us, because it's really going to be helpful.
You're welcome.
And I mean, how did you and Tish end up finding the channel?
Well, my mom found it first, dealing with my father's antics. I think it was that she was trying to just understand more what was going on, get like be validated as to what she experienced.
Right. And
And
so,
I started watching the videos too.
yeah. And then at some point, I think maybe we were talking and you had disclosed to me that you were diagnosed with autism. So yeah, I mean, for a lot of people that don't understand this, Nathan, how does that all start? When do they do the testing? How did this all start for you, that mom or dad recognized, as you were a little kid, what was going on? And
Yeah. Well, autism, it can be diagnosed typically nowadays with screening techniques before 2 years of age, though there are people where you're not going to see it until adolescence or even into adulthood that you get diagnosed with autism.
yeah.
For me, that was in early childhood.
Okay. And did you feel like sometimes things were different for you or different for other kids? Do you remember those feelings like when you were growing up? Or
Yeah, I didn't really feel like I fit in really well. I tried to, but it was always awkward.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And so one of the first things you had here, Nathan, which I thought would be great to dive into, just into this sort of general understanding of, some of the personality traits, developmental traits, things that are going on in early adulthood, even, or even early childhood, adolescence. What's really going on here, in some of the signs and symptoms, and then you had in here too, which was going to be perfect to talk about, was this whole overlap, and the general, consensus of narcissism and autism and why people get this confused all the time.
Yeah. So when you have someone with autism and, it's not been treated, no a person hasn't gotten any therapy yet, you're going to notice they have a hard time keeping eye contact. Which, yeah, that was my thing too.
Yeah.
They may not respond to their name as fast as other babies do when they're really, really young. Facial expression, a proper facial expression, you might not see it as well when they're a baby. Going into adulthood, going into a bit older than that, you're going to start seeing certain signs of, okay, is this a verbal autistic person or nonverbal? There's also just like a delay in being able to talk in general. Social skills are just not they're not the best for us.
Okay.
Yeah. It takes quite a few years to get used to what society deems as normal social behavior and try to adapt to that.
Right.
And therapy also helps adaptation, which can come in multiple forms, like actually seeing a counselor or a therapist. Having a pet, that helps autistic people. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And as you know, and a lot of people know, I helped for 10 years of my life. I helped most of the population that I worked with was people that had autism as well as developmental disabilities. And I had to advocate for them I had to speak to a lot of employers to kind of sort of give them with the client's permission, a heads up that, hey, Nathan might seem like standoffish at times, but he's not. He's just very shy. So, you don't have to disclose your disability when you're looking for jobs. You can sort of give characteristics of like, hey, or suggestions like this might help Nathan more as his job coach. This might help him more with such and such skills or tasks. And, you kind of present it that way without having to walk around all day going, hey, everyone, I have autism, right?
Right.
Yeah. And it takes you a while. I noticed too, like when I worked with my clients, and I'm sure you think this, I've seen it with you, Nate, because you've opened up quite a bit to me since we've known one another, that it takes you a long time to get used to someone too, and be trusting of someone and know that, you can feel comfortable with somebody. But we are going to talk more about your advantages of having autism, which I think that's definitely one of them, right? It's that you do sort of take your time to, which I think is awesome, which I think more people could learn from.
Well, that's not quite an advantage. See, one of the problems with autism is naivety, and we'll go into that a bit later. But the naivety also involves just taking someone at face value.
Okay.
Yeah, so it took me a while to dull that down. I still am naive on affirmative issues, but I can see scams for what they are. I can see the malarkey that businesses participate in.
Yeah.
For what that is. Though being able to take a person on a case by case basis and say, okay, is this person trusting? Can they be trusted?
Yeah.
Yeah, just holding off on automatically thinking, oh, this is a nice person.
Yeah.
They seem nice.
Yeah. Well, and you've also been through a lot of personal things too that have got you to this place that you're at now in life, which, we'll get into that. So, yeah, so kind of in beginning stages, uh, you know, now in terms of comparing this right now to narcissism, even at a young age, what would you say is difference in how somebody would understand that maybe their child is developing into having narcissistic traits as opposed to this could be autism we're talking about here? What are the comparisons do you think? Or
Well, no, it's first it's important to for everyone to understand that autism is a developmental disorder, whereas narcissism is a personality disorder,
exactly.
especially if you have the full blown thing and not just traits. Which my father is there; he has traits.
Right.
And yeah, that initial diagnosis was not pleasant to hear. Doctor told us they can still be jerks.
Yeah.
He wasn't kidding.
Yeah. Do you
Um,
mean they could still be jerks talking about people that have autism?
no, people that have narcissism, just
Oh, okay.
traits though.
Yes.
But
I was okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it's like
Make
if
that
this
clear.
is how bad dad can be, what does the full thing look like? It scared me to more and more look at the research and hear what that looks like.
Right. Right.
Wow, it really can't be worse. So yeah, but yeah, developmental versus personality. Autism is developmental, narcissism personality. Um, let's see. So another difference. We're not into intentionally, or people's autism are not into intentionally being mean. No. Whenever we do something that might be considered mean, it's either from a lack of understanding. Like you could think, like, okay, we have a lack of tact issue, for example. We don't understand there's issues that when they're mentioned in the home, they stay in the home. Not supposed to be talking about that to other people
Right.
if it's private. Okay, you might think that's a mean thing for them to do. No, they just don't understand tact.
Yeah. Yeah.
It took me a while to understand that too.
I think a lot of us have that problem. Not just, yeah. So yeah.
Another thing, uh, narcissists have a insensitivity issue where we just aren't sensitive starting out. There's a big difference there. Um, by not being sensitive, I mean we don't even understand our own feelings, let alone the feelings of others when we're starting out in life. And mileage can vary based on life experience an autistic person has. Um, but Tracy, you could explain the insensitivity of the narc pretty well.
Well, yeah. I mean, and here we go back into where people have to understand if they think that their partner might have autism or be diagnosed with Asperger's, which is within the autism spectrum. If you're gonna, if you're thinking that your partner is this way, there is and having myself worked with that population for 10 years, I know firsthand, I can tell you that there is a distinctive difference. People that have autism don't realize there's no malice intent behind what you're doing. It happens to, it might come across to others that you're being cold or mean or distant or fresh or and that's might be how it's appearing to others, but it's not the case. Whereas narcissistic people that have severe narcissism, or even they have a malignancy to they know what they're doing before they're doing it type of deal. And there to me is the major difference.
Yeah. And there does insensitivity. They can see what you're feeling. They don't care.
Yes.
Whereas we see what you're feeling, we don't understand.
There you go. Perfectly stated. Perfectly stated. Yes. Yeah. So having said that, we know with the whole we know what social norms are almost for narcissists. Uh, as you stated here, when we went through some of the points we wanted to make, narcs have a one size fit all deception mask.
Yes, social masks. Both narcs and autistic people have them, but as Tracer said, narcissistic people have that one size fit all mask for every social situation, and it is deceptive and a disguise for that fragile ego, that inner child that's still there for them.
Mm-hmm.
Autistic people, we have autistic masking, and not all of us participate in this. There's autistic people that just refuse to go along with social norms. They want to be themselves completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there are others that choose to want to fit in, like I wanted to fit in, which I think is more for therapy's sake, because I feel like just being yourself is enabling your own behaviors that are the bad parts of autism as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
But autistic masking, we have multiple masks. We can't use the same social mask for every situation. Like we have to adapt to it different ways.
yeah. And you've learned how to do that. You've learned how to, okay. Like I know when you and I were talking, we did some sessions to work on interview skills. Like, and some of the points and tips I gave you, you might not be comfortable doing those things, like, shaking someone's hand and smiling here and there. But we worked on that. Is this the kind of example you're talking about? Things like
Yeah.
this?
It can be exhausting for us to have to be our best selves in a neurotypical fashion.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, it's not to deceive. It's just to fit in.
Yes. Yes.
Because
Exactly.
if we're just be ourselves all the time around others, kind of off-putting to people that haven't seen autism firsthand or are still getting used to it.
Okay. There's also this whole notion too, Nathan, and I'm sure you feel this, like, my clients that presented had a developmental disability that was physical. You could see that on somebody. For example, somebody that has Down syndrome or somebody that has cerebral palsy. I'm sure you must feel at times like there's good and bad to the fact that people look at you and would never know that you're struggling with anything or that you have these. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Autism, both autism and narcissism do not have an appearance, an outward appearance. Okay. It's all in the behaviors.
Yes.
We're bad at social skills, whereas narcs, they appear to be great at social skills, appear to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Um, boy, if I had that level of adaptation with the autistic masking, that would have helped a lot when I was younger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. um so we had on here too, so we talked about the autistic masking,
Yeah.
um and we did talk about the whole notion of sensitive versus insensitive. We talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go overlap.
okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
So one thing that can confuse people about is this person autistic or narcissist is because there's a fair amount of things that are displayed that are similar between the two. And that's also caused some people to think, wait, is there such a thing as an autistic narcissist? Well, no, that hasn't been proven. It's just an idea that comes about from the overlap of symptoms. So yeah, like self-centeredness. Okay. When an autistic person is indulging in things that they really, really like, which borders on obsession even,
Mhm.
yeah, you'll think there's a degree of self-centeredness there. And it could be definitely inappropriate to that person's age.
Okay, like
Yeah.
maturity level you're describing, maturity wise.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Um, another thing, like are both narcs and autistic people gonna have a failure to develop proper emotional relationships.
Okay.
That just has to do with, like, we have emotions, we feel them. It's just, and we have a problem expressing them.
Okay.
Another, yeah, a good comparison there would be reptiles. They experience emotions too, but can they express them properly like other animals? No, they can't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I remember seeing articles like scientists have discovered alligators can even experience stress.
But you can't see that. You can't see that looking. They always have the same sort of face, if you will.
It's a sort of a flat affect, an
Yeah.
autistic person. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Internalizing these feelings is not good. And it can also lead to blow ups. So yeah, I would definitely advise that if you know an autistic person, like, encourage them every step of the way to share what they're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Please do. A hostile dependency on safe relationships.
Okay.
Like, yeah, that's another similarity both autistic people and narcissists have. Which, as I understand it, Trace, it's like physical aggression, passive aggression, verbal aggression, along those lines.
Okay. And you find that that happens sometimes for you? It's hard to control?
Yes, I have done that to both my mom and dad, regrettably.
Yeah.
Ryan pushes buttons too. My little brother, he's got a little more autism than I do. But he's still smart. He can figure things out. It's just that added bit of autism, it can make things more difficult for him to express himself. We always have to, or like, we still have to urge him to tell us what's going on, what's wrong.
In therapy, were you given any sort of any sort of solutions to that, or suggestions when you start to feel like your emotions running high, or getting like you're getting really angry?
Not that I recall. My therapy was mostly around my depression that I got, which, yeah, autistic people will feel that a bit more intensely. And it's definitely a common comorbidity, autism.
Yeah, can you explain more about that?
Comorbidities, yeah. We'll go back to overlap in a second, but there is another difference between the autistic person narcissism. We have a lot more comorbidities that are not personality issues. We're looking at things like, for me, I developed epilepsy. About 20% of people with autism do.
Okay.
Yeah. Other issues are like sleeping disorders, which my little brother has, gastrointestinal issues. Oh, I also got the ADD that can come with it too.
Yeah.
Although you could also put ADHD there as well in some cases. Anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, even bipolar disorder. The developmental issues, any kind of language impairment or delay, as well as intellectual disabilities are included. And there's even a couple of genetic issues like tuberous sclerosis and Fragile X syndrome.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. With narcissism, you're looking at some other personality issues like histrionic. Had a famous case of that on TV somewhat recently. Borderline also. Psychopathy, which I guess psychopathy is, narcissism is more a comorbidity of psychopathy, I guess. Yeah, just so yeah, in short, the autistic comorbidities adversely affect that person's ability to properly live life. Narcissism comorbidities adversely affect the life of those around them.
Yes. Perfectly said. Perfectly said, Nate. That just nails it. Yes. And you were still going to do some more about the overlapping. You had some more things
Yes,
there.
a few more points here. Reciprocating emotions, that goes into the sensitivity and sensitive, or the lack of sensitivity issue. And just being able to express that we care for someone. Social, because of our social issues, yeah, we can have difficulty there, but as I've heard, actions speak louder than words. And whenever my mom's going through a hard time, I always make sure to give her a hug, keep a hold of her hand, there's always things you can do to show someone you care.
Yes.
And that's especially important for me to do when I can't always do that verbally. Not that I don't want to, I want to, just it doesn't come across right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you might notice my voice is a particular type of monotone. That is also a side effect of Asperger's in particular, or it can be. Anyway, get some people with Asperger's that just have a monotone voice.
Except when I'm making you laugh. Then we hear a different pitch.
Yeah.
I love making Nate laugh. It's like one of my favorite things to do. So okay, so then you had a few other points of did you have some more points for overlapping?
Yes. A poor self-awareness in both narcs and autistic people. Narcs are unable to see how much ego they express. They're unable to see that their issues cause problems. They think it's got to be the other person's fault or the other people's fault. Like they can't be the blame.
Yep.
And for us, it's more just a lack of understanding of social cues, social contract.
Right. Right. You nailed that one. That's
Yeah.
a definite.
And there might even be autistic people that have a poor ability to exhibit remorse for mistakes. But the narc, though, they don't feel like they have to.
Yes.
It doesn't come naturally to them.
Yes. And see, this is like why you're the perfect person to come on here to describe to others, because of the fact that you you were diagnosed with this at a young age, you've lived this, and then on top of it, you had a family member who was by far a narcissist, to the point where you witnessed a lot of malignant behaviors throughout your time, and this is why you're the perfect person to describe this to people, because from living it.
Yeah. Well, it's not just my dad, it's also my eldest brother Mike. Different father though, but Mike is the representation of the sloth. He and the ways that he always mooches off of people. I mean, sure, he sort of has a job, but he prefers to mooch off of others. He prefers to just get things from other people. And if you give him stuff, he'll love you.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
Otherwise, you're a stranger to him, which is what he called my mom.
Yeah. So you that's the thing. It's like you've seen how far that this can go for them. There is no lengths that they're not going to go to do whatever it is that they want. And as we've all learned and seen, they get worse as time goes on, where that's not what happens with you guys. This is not what happens here. Did you have any more points of overlap, Nate?
Yes. Treating people as objects or preferring objects to people. This can come from like a more narrow focus of interests. Like I don't share too many interests with my parents. So that doesn't leave me with too much to talk about. So I've had to try and be more open to their interests. Like, okay, maybe I can find another common ground between us if I just see what their interests are. Yeah, that's how I go about it. But when a narc treats someone as an object,
Yeah.
That is not for any other reason. That's like, okay, this thing here is supposed to be just venerating me.
Yeah. Yep.
Not disagreeing with me.
Yes. Not sharing their emotions, not bringing anything up that might be bothering them. It's all about, this is my world and you're just a part of it.
Yeah. So yeah, just that's about it for the overlap that I can think of at the time.
I was going to ask you, Nate, I had a few questions here. How do you think this diagnosis has affected or impacted your life?
Initially, I felt like it was just a damning thing to my intelligence. I thought it made me stupid. I lamented that even, but my mother helped me wake up to the fact that it doesn't own me. It's just a part of me.
Yes. And talk about intelligence for just a second. I'm not even exaggerating with everybody that's watching this interview with the very fact that you are probably one of the most intelligent people I've ever known. So and talk about intelligence. I think that's also like, I've known a lot of autistic people that their intelligence is like beyond what we have. I mean, and you guys, I also have seen in the years, you're specifically like, it's like a gift that you have in particular areas that like you own it. Like that's your gift. Like it's computers and everything having to do with computers, I mean,
I should say, oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I should say though, intelligence doesn't exactly equate to wisdom, which I guess that's another overlap. Actually, I think about it. Yeah. Lacking in wisdom, that can be an overlap with narcs and autistic people. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, we can show intelligence, but poor judgment, just poor decisions on self-care, and even certain self-destructive things. All that ties into a lack of wisdom that autistic people do need to work on, and that narcissistic people will be unable to work on.
Bingo.
I mean, there might be an exception if they were to get like a decade of therapy, or I don't know, but they'd have to admit they have a problem first.
Yeah.
How often are you going to see that?
Well, and even the self-proclaimed narcissists that have their channels out there, I try to remind people, yeah, they're giving you the information, but don't forget, you're getting your information from, let's face it, there's still hell to pay at their house. And believe me when I tell you that, their kids are paying for it, their wife is paying for it, people in their life are paying for it. And as you know, Nate, you got to distance yourself from these people. Yeah. I've not seen or heard of many of them ever changing or gaining wisdom. We don't hear about that. We don't really hear much about that at all. And if they're telling you that they have, it's I was going to compare it to something, but it's probably really inappropriate. You know, they say don't trust a fart, you know. Nate, I had to go there. All right, so anyway, um, um oh, I'm so overtired right now. All right, guys. Sorry. Um, all right. I wanted to ask you, I know you've touched upon it a little bit, but what aspects do you find that actually suit you having autism that are like good things that you recognize, like, are just even about you in general, Nate? Let's put all the labels out the window. I mean, what do you know about yourself that's like, hey, I'm pretty amazing?
I know I don't have the same outlook as other people do. Just being able to bring a different point of view, very different. I know that's a beneficial thing. Just being able to think outside the box, though, missing the actual box, like overthinking, that's definitely working against at times. Another thing, I noticed that I have a form of a hyper focus. Yeah, and remember when I was going to Copper Mountain College, at times I didn't always have the time to have worked on something the night before. So I'd get there and no joke, I've managed to do a day's worth of work within 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my teacher, my biology teacher, said he could tell when something's been rushed. Well, apparently not. Well, either he couldn't actually tell, or I somehow have a great ability to get really focus, get something done quickly.
You do. And I've seen it. I mean, I'm sitting there, we're doing share screen, and so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm literally going, and you just, yeah, you do. You focus in on something, and you're like, we're gonna get this done. And you don't lose patience. Like you don't, you know, that's another skill of yours. Like you have amazing patience, especially for dodos like me. And so yeah, and you're, like I said, your intelligence too is just, to me it's through the roof. It's on another level. What aspects about having autism are very frustrating for you?
Well, one second, there was another thing on the last topic. It's attention to detail.
Yes.
Yeah, another thing. But yeah, the frustrating things. Well, in my particular case, I hate the epilepsy that came with it. Anyone that knows how driving laws work, you're not going to be able to drive. And yeah, I got to see a lot of my high school classmates just drive off, which kind of just depressed me for a little bit of a moment. But my epilepsy has been under control lately.
Right.
I haven't even noticed another seizure in months.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Using CBD has really helped there.
Has it? Is that
Yes.
something? Okay, that's good for people to know.
I was on 3 different drugs before I started CBD for controlling my seizures. Then after a while being on CBD, I'm on none of those.
Amazing. Wow.
And I haven't noticed a single seizure in months. So.
Amazing. That's amazing. That's such good information for people to know and be aware of. Wow.
Other frustrating things. The social issues that I have, again, like when I don't say something a certain way, or like I try and mean it one way and it's taken another way, that's really frustrating. I found that at times have to start and end up yelling even to try and like I feel like when I feel like I'm not being heard, I start raising my voice, yelling. That's not right to do. It just happens.
Mhm.
um, Another thing is I do have difficulty relaying information properly to others. Like I can demonstrate a lot better than I can teach others how to do something by mouth.
Just struggling with communication skills.
Yeah, I did a research project actually in a prayer class on the university, and as it turns out, autistic people do a lot better if they have an interview that is more of a on hands type of interview rather than being asked a bunch of questions.
Yes. Yeah. You can get up and show people what you do instead of talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Much better. Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I wanted to ask you, what do you know, as a sort of like a final wrap up to everything you shared today, and we can't thank you enough because it's really going to be beneficial and helpful for others out there. And please, guys, don't forget to leave comments for Nate with questions you may have, or asking more questions so that he can help you better understand maybe perhaps, your experiences or what you've been dealing with, and trying to maybe figure out others around you. What's one thing or even a few things that you can think of that you just really want people to know and understand about autism in particular, and maybe even this comparison people are doing this with narcissism?
Well, I want people to understand that if you are triggered by someone who has autism in your life, it's because of that overlap. Like if you've been through narcissistic abuse and then suddenly there's this autistic person that seems to show similar signs, the overlap is to blame. And it's not their fault either.
Mhm.
It can even be hard to remember when you depending on your level of trauma and being triggered by seeing these things that seem to overlap. It can be hard to remember. This isn't the narcissist. This is the autistic person that I know.
Mhm.
It can be hard. But it takes getting used to, and also it will help if you make the autistic person just aware of these behaviors that can be inappropriate, that seem to overlap these bad behaviors. So long as we have the tools, we can work on it.
Yes.
I can't say it's going to be work to perfection. I'm definitely still having issues there. But
Yeah.
I already have an understanding with my mom on that regard. That yes, I know I exhibit certain things that seem like what dad exhibits, but I always remind her that, hey, I'm on your side, mom.
Yeah. Right. Right. And I'm sure, as you and I have talked, all the different videos you've seen about narcissism has really just helped you to understand. And you and I have had personal conversations where you've said to me, hey, I'm so afraid I don't want to be like my dad. And I remind you, you're nothing like your dad. And that's what makes you who you are, and unique and special. And you can never ever. And I know a lot of people there, whether uh, it's a parent or it's somebody within the family that you've been around for years. I know a lot of people are petrified of that. I don't want to turn into that. I don't want. It's a fear. It's a fear that we all have experienced. And even people coming out of relationships with a narcissist will say, I'm petrified. Am I one of the questions most people coming out will say, was I the narcissist? And And you know, you always have to make sure you go to somebody like your mom, myself, people close to you to remind you of who you are. So you never get stuck in that mindset of like, no, I actually have the ability to think about things and to be cognizant, you know, about my behaviors. And even for you to come on today, Nate, and talk about this is huge, and it's brave. And you know, I'm really proud of you. I've known you for 3 years now, and I just what I've seen in your progression as a young man, it's amazing. So you should really be proud of yourself, you know.
Well, I'm 31, not a young man anymore, but
Well,
I do
you
appreciate
are.
it.
You are. And you know, we talked about the whole idea too of sort of being like emotionally and mature wise behind in a few years and some things. So I mean, come on, you know. But yeah, we really want to thank you for doing this for us. And as I said, guys, if you have questions for Nate, and please make sure, you know, you've gotten to know him better. He is my moderator. He's very smart. He's helping me make sure we keep the trolls we keep the trolls away. He's helping make my life. You've made my life a lot easier, Nate. I'll tell you that. I don't have to deal with that and comments and things of this nature. You forward me if somebody has a really good comment that I should try to get back to. And you've done a lot to help me in this channel. So we all want to thank you for that. Everybody in this community, please make sure, you know, if you get a shot at a chance to thank Nate and his mother Tish for helping out my channel.
Yeah, especially thank my mother. Without her, I would not have gotten a lot of the internal struggles dealt with that I did.
Yeah. Your mother
Yeah,
is,
I would have been a lot more self-pitying, actually.
yeah. What I love about your mother is she's equally as caring as she is strong, and that's what comes across, and that's how you can see that on you as how she raised you. You can see she taught you how to be strong yet still have that caring sensitivity to you, and you both exhibit that. And I'm just so blessed to know the both of you. So
We're blessed to know you.
well, thank you so much, Nate. I hope that this helps to clear some things up for those of you that might have wondered or thought, gee, is this autism, or is this narcissism? Thanks again, Nate. And yeah, guys, I'll be back on this week. Nate's gonna try to help me figure out how to use a microphone.
Other things to deal with.
We got more, Trace needs more help over here. So anyway, thanks again. And I'll be back with some more good stuff for you guys this week. I'm Trace Face, and as always, it's time we face the truth together.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.